Tonight on The Conversation.
Well, I'm actually still trying to figure out what it really means to be an independent woman. And I am now, I can't believe it, but I am an adult. I'm a complete adult.
I'm smart. I'm not a fool. And yet I felt so bad about myself that I became really vulnerable to consumer culture that said, big tits will do it for you. And so I got them.
I'm the only consistent person in my life, and so I better like myself, and I really better love myself, and I really better know that I'm as beautiful as anyone else.
I identify myself as a transgendered woman because it's the path in life that I have. And I mean, transgender is usually for people who are born in the wrong body, so to speak. They were born in the opposite sex that they actually feel they belong to. In my case, I was born in a male body.
The Conversation is a totally alternative interview series with women who have a story or experience to share. We talk about everything that women talk about: relationships, sex, kids, career, money problems, body image. We're basically talking about the universal language of women.
Because when you break it down, when I do go outside my comfort zone, I'm dealing with fear.
We were talking earlier about what it means to be an independent woman, what that really means, and I would like to know what that means to you.
Well, I'm actually still trying to figure out what it really means to be an independent woman, and I am now, I can't believe it, but I am an adult. I'm a complete adult. I'm officially here. I've got nowhere else to run to. I'm a full functioning adult.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
And it actually feels amazing because, you know, I'm financially independent, which is wonderful. And I have an amazing career and I work really hard. And I really enjoy working hard.
Was financial independence something that has always been really necessary for you?
Absolutely. I grew up in a very working class household and with a single mother. And my mother, I can remember having her stress over bills all the time, constantly. And that was a big thing for me. And this is actually a true story. For some reason, I wanted to be a nun when I was little.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I swear to God, I wanted to be a nun. But this is like when I was like 5,
That
you know?
is so cute.
So I wanted to be a nun. I
can just
still
see
for
you.
Reasons unknown, right?
I can see you in some cute little nun's
In a
habit.
little habit.
Maybe with something underneath.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I've done that before. No, so I wanted to be a nun, and I was a very, very good student at school. And all my goals were toward becoming a successful nun, so that I could support my mother. And I could buy her a house, and I could buy her things and pay her bills.
That's really beautiful.
It was. And then when I was about 9 years old, my nun dream came to a crashing halt. My sister, because I would write my mother these letters, she still has them. Mom, I'm going to grow up and buy you a house, and I'm going to buy you this and pay all your bills. And my sister was like, you know, they call me Evie. She was like, Evie, how are you going to do all this if you want to be a nun? Nuns don't get paid. I was like, what? I was like, are you kidding me? So that was the beginning of me becoming somewhat, as I say, healthily obsessed with money.
I know for me that because I came from a very difficult financial background where my family had money and then it didn't.
Yes.
My main goal, my idea of being independent meant financial security.
Right.
And I too achieved that at a pretty young age because, well, that's what I had the drive to do.
Exactly.
And we do actually manifest what we really, really focus on.
Absolutely.
So do you now still feel like that?
Right. Well, now that I've achieved financial independence and stability, because I'm very smart about my money, and I'm not...
You're not careless.
Not careless, but also I really couldn't give a less about what I drive or
that's so great.
What I'm wearing. This is my grandmother's ring, who I never met. This is my most precious thing.
It's beautiful.
I am just so not that girl. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
It's just not you.
It is so not me, and I'm so thankful that it's not me, because it makes putting my
Yeah.
money into the right places
Absolutely.
easier. So thank God I'm just this way. I
Where
don't
do
know
you
why.
put your money? What do you consider like smart choices financially?
Smart choices, starting businesses. I have a few different businesses that
Really?
yeah, that I kind of keep
Wow.
quiet. I'm pretty private about, and then real estate. And I'm always into I love kind of just thinking, meeting with people that think outside the box and that are really progressive business-wise, and then seeing where I could kind of, stick my little paws in.
So how does this work for you then? Because this is a big question, that women are not educated about
Yes.
finances, that is something, talk about independence. Most women rely on their partner, their men, to take care of the financial side of things, and they just have no idea what's happening
know.
with their money.
I know.
Right? And it puts you in a very vulnerable situation, and you're reliant. That is no way to have independence.
Absolutely.
Okay, so knowing that, how do you educate yourself in making wise choices in business? How do you know what to do with your money?
You ask questions. You ask questions of people you trust, and you go on the internet, and you have all these resources that are available to us. You just ask questions, and that's another phase of my life that I'm in, is just asking. Why, how,
And to not be afraid to ask questions.
and not be afraid to ask, and not be afraid to sound stupid.
Right.
Because, there's no such thing as a stupid question. We've all heard that.
Right. But it's true.
Growing up. But it's true. And we forget that. And a lot of times, especially because there's a camera on or something, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to sound stupid.
Right.
Who cares? I'm not. Like,
Right.
once I got over that, it made me so much smarter as far as like my choices were so much more, knowledgeable. I was so much more knowledgeable about what I was getting into.
Right.
Asking questions of people that I trust and asking for help. That's a big thing too. We forget that we can ask for help.
I would like to know from you, what are the things that you do in your life that give you self-esteem?
It's very interesting what's kind of happened in the last few years of my life. I think, getting into my early 30s was something that was really exciting for me because I just started thinking about myself more, but not in a
healthy way.
In a healthy way, not in the selfish way that I was thinking about myself before.
Right.
I've really started to think about myself in a way of like, if I'm working at my optimal, and if I'm actually the best I can be, guilt-free, because that's another thing I struggle with guilt, that dirty, dirty word. So what I do now is, the way I eliminate this guilt that I have of being the best I could be and really having everything is knowing that when I'm at my best, that's when I can really be of service to other people.
Yes,
so that's the
absolutely.
shift that has happened in the last few years for me, and that is such freedom.
I know.
So amazing.
I know.
That's what's really changed my life lately.
I'm curious how dating has been since your life changed.
Definitely career-worthy dudes.
My relationship to myself is certainly better as I get older.
It gets better every day.
And I kind of grew up as an awkward teen and trying to find myself.
A lot of things will let you feel like you're not the right person, from magazines to television to even your own family members.
Growing up in New York and growing up with my family, I didn't really have a fighting chance at a self-esteem. I was always told that I was not good enough, that I was ugly. That's the umbrella of the message that I got. I was made fun of a lot, not only, at school, but at home. Like, I got it all over the place, and it was hurtful, and so I grew up a lot of times. I was a huge crybaby. My feelings hurt so much, but crying never kept anyone from making fun of me, and crying never kept away any of the bad feelings, and so I had to learn to deal with it.
It's testament to your spirit that you were able to hear that repeatedly and somewhere inside yourself know that that's not true. That's not true. That's not who I am.
Only because and people are always like, wow, you're so strong, and I think of it as my strength came from weakness. in a lot of ways.
Well, from survival, because you needed to develop those skills to survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that it's really weakness.
Well, for me, it came out of, well, I say my strength came out of weakness because I just got so tired. Like it was like being beaten. That's what made me kind of start to stand up for myself.
Bullying in school, that is something that people have been talking a lot about lately. There's been some really extreme situations, really tragic and sad people that have taken their own lives from being bullied. You know, now more people are speaking up about it. But what was that like for you? What form did that take, the bullying?
It was, you know, in name calling, you know, it'd be sometimes it,
you don't have to say their names.
No, I mean, like I remember, I'm famous now. I'm kidding. But it's, I remember there was one kid in junior high who was he was really, really short, and he would bully me so much. But like now that I'm an adult, I can see that it comes from his own insecurity and his own inability to fit in. And I was the nicest girl, but he would pick on me so much. He would throw paper balls at me, and I kind of just let it happen. I mean, I would cry and I would get really upset, but I didn't know what to do. I couldn't say stop it. And we had an altercation, and I tore into him like a tornado, and that's what stopped it. Beating that kid up really, really worked. It really worked. And I feel bad for it, and I feel like maybe now I wouldn't do it, but
you wouldn't do it now.
I wouldn't do it, but I'm also an adult now, and I'm better able to handle that type of thing. But then I wasn't, and it solved the problem for a split second. It solved the problem with him. It didn't stop anyone else from
the next round of people.
Yeah.
How has it affected you that people perceive you? They treat you so differently now. You've had two really extreme experiences. How is today? How are you dealing with how people treat you today?
Well, today I get a lot of people tell me how beautiful I am, and it's very strange from going from being the only person that ever believed that to now hearing that on a constant basis.
Like, I knew this already.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not like a weird cockiness thing, but because I've had to train myself to believe it, and I really, really do believe it, but I had to work at it. And so it's hard for me to say thank you in a lot of ways, because I always thought of it as a secret that only I knew. You know, only I know I'm beautiful. You don't know what you're talking about. You know,
it was yours.
Yeah, it's so strange.
And now you have to share that.
Yeah, and I have to accept it.
I'm curious how dating has been since your life changed.
Well, I started dating a guy right before my life has changed. And so
before the change, like for most people the change means like menopause. Yeah. But in this conversation we mean like
fame.
Yeah.
And so he was there slightly right before I became recognizable. And he's pretty much been there the entire time. But it's very strange. I mean, I used to get hit on a lot before. By like randoms, like random guys, but now I get hit on by like directors.
Really?
Yeah, and it's strange, and it's just, but I kind of look at it as part of the business, you know. Like,
anyone cute?
Yeah, definitely some definitely career-worthy dudes.
Right. Isn't it flattering at all?
It's flattering, but I also don't trust it. I'm very, very new to this industry. I mean, it's a strange industry. It's a strange industry of beautiful people and, you know, agendas. And so I just don't, it's not that I don't trust actors or directors. I just don't trust anyone that I don't know. And every time someone says that I'm beautiful, I want to call them on it and say, you are only saying that because you've seen me on the big screen or you've seen me in a magazine. You're only saying that because now you think you get to. I mean, I don't want to be like aggressive and mean about it, because while I am like, how do you know, or like, why are you saying this? I'm also really curious as to what now makes me beautiful.
What have you heard? What have people said to you?
You know, like everyone's like, it's so strange. It's really hard to be in the industry, in any industry, because people kind of like carbon copies, and they can only process one kind of person, and so they like to put you in different boxes. And so I've been told that I look exactly like Alec Weck. Now, if you know who she is, she is a ridiculously skinny model who is African, and I happen to be African too. Her skin's much darker than mine, but people always, every photo shoot I've ever had, you look just like her. I don't look just like her.
No, you don't.
I don't. I just happen to be dark skinned, and it's just like, oh, your skin is so beautiful. And your skin's so rich and so pretty and so beautiful and so chocolatey. When I was in junior high, people called me Skillet. Like, and called me Midnight, and it was something. I never hated the color of my skin. I hated the way other people felt about it. And now, for some reason, people feel differently about it. Which is,
how have you built this and continued to develop your self-esteem?
Actually,
because I want some.
I get that question a lot. A lot of people are like, so did your mom teach you that? Did you get it from your dad? And it's just like, I don't think that my brand of self-confidence and self-assuredness can come from an outside source. It's gotta come from me. And my mom is not a very sensitive person. I would cry to her. I would, like, my eyes, I cry. Whenever I cry for hours. I can't.
Me too.
It's unstoppable. And so my mom would say, toughen up or get a thick skin, and I'd be like, she doesn't understand me, and she, and I think when I was young, I failed to realize that my mom has gone through this. My mom was a little fat girl too. She was a little fat, dark-skinned girl too, and so she found her way
by toughening up.
Yeah, and that's what she did, and I don't know that I have a thicker skin now. I don't think I do. Because that's all she could say, get a thicker skin, but she couldn't tell me how. No one could tell me how. How am I supposed to do this?
Well, that's what I'm hearing from you, is that you haven't closed your heart. Because to get a thicker skin means we have to close our heart, right? So you haven't done that. You found another. And that's what's interesting and really admirable to me.
I really figured out that I'm the only consistent person in my life, and so I better like myself, and I really better love myself, and I really better know that I'm as beautiful as anyone else. I had to do that for myself, otherwise I would have drowned in a sea of negativity, and I would have drowned in a sea of other people's opinion.
Use it or lose it. I think it's both for men and for women. Masturbating is a really good way to keep your sex organs primed and ready.
I think every single thing that has happened to me had a lesson in it.
Life just kind of happens to you, and it's just all how you deal with it.
I think that for many of us women, we have aha moments where we go, aha, I get it.
I had a family, I had a husband, I had children, I had a career, I had a statewide political organization. I had a lot of life, and I knew I couldn't do my life and continue with this addictive behavior. I was gonna die.
How many years did you suffer from bulimia?
25.
I mean, that is a large chunk of your life.
Hello.
I mean,
yeah.
how have you really recovered from that, or
yes.
is that? Yeah.
I know. I saw an article in the New York Times Health Times issue a while back, and it said you can't really recover from it, and I know you can. Well, what I did was not necessarily the best. I was about 46, and I stopped. It was like the equivalent of a dry drunk. A dry drunk means an alcoholic who's not drinking,
but isn't getting any treatment for the reasons why.
That hard, brittle core, which is the addiction, was still there. After 4 years, I started the workout, and I began to heal through the workout. Gloria Steinem said, empowerment can begin in the muscles, and it's true. And then I started taking Prozac, and that helped with the anxiety.
And the impulse control.
And then I had a nervous breakdown. And I hurt so bad that it's really not hard to describe. And I said out loud, if God wants me to be in this much pain, there must be a reason. And it was like, somebody said God? I was raised an atheist. What's that? And I realized I'd been broken open. Something happened to me. Something began to change. I began to look at the world differently. Coincidences kept happening.
You had a shift in consciousness.
Yeah. And so I began to study religion and faith. And that was when I moved from being a dry drunk to being a healed person. And I didn't need to take any medications anymore or anything.
What do you continue to do in your life? Like, what are your practices, if you will? Because
I exercise. But my body, put it this way, if you really want to know.
I really want to know.
I would be naked in silhouette, and I would look as good or better than I did when I was 20. But if you put the light overhead or direct on, no, I'm a 73-year-old woman with skin that is not tight anymore and all of that. And because I'm vain, I make sure that I always look my best when I'm with my man, and that there's a lot of candles. You know, I'm vain. It matters to me.
But that's good, I think, to have a certain amount of self-care and to care about how you look.
But I'm not gonna have surgery on my body anymore. When I had the nervous breakdown, something in me said, if I had big tits, it would fix it. You know, now I'm smart. I'm not a fool. And yet I felt so bad about myself that I became really vulnerable to consumer culture that said, big tits will do it for you. And so I got them. I realized as I began to move through my marriage to Ted that it's not who I am, and it just didn't belong to me. So I had them taken out. And I remember my son saying, oh, Mom, thank God. Oh, Mom, thank God.
I can hug you again.
Yeah, you're back in proportion. But I talked to my kids about that as, you know, because I was not proud of it. I was ashamed of it. And yet I know, you know, young women who have things about their bodies that cause them such pain, such problems, whatever it is, that, you know, I can understand that now that there is the means to, you know, have your nose fixed or whatever, but do it properly. You know, don't overdo it. Right. Don't make it an addiction.
Right. People repeatedly go and have more and more and more done because it's not fixing the ache inside.
Right.
And
it's like a lot of men, they get Cialis and Viagra, and after a while they don't keep subscribing because it doesn't solve the problem, essentially. If they don't feel excited, you know, it should say on the bottle, take pill and with friction and fantasy. You can't just take the pill, it doesn't do it.
Sounds like you've had a lot of success in that
department. I'm old.
So.
I'm old and I like sex, so I've done a lot, and I just finished writing a book.
But how wonderful that, and that's the reality of your life, and that's a woman's life experience. We're all having sex. Like, if we're not, we're hoping that we are.
No, we're not all having sex. There's a whole lot of women who aren't, and that's just fine. There's no one way to do it. You know, one of the problems with Cialis and Viagra is many women, it's like, whew, it's over. I don't have to worry about it anymore. You know, he's not getting it up. And then suddenly he's popping a pill and wanting to get it on, and her mind and her vagina are totally, they're not ready anymore.
Yeah.
I went for 7 years with no sex following Ted. And, you know, when I started again, it was not easy.
7 years. Did that exclude masturbation as well?
No. I think masturbation is really important. Use it or lose it. You know, I think both for men and for women, masturbating is a really good way to keep your sex organs primed and ready. I mean, but again, you know, there's some women who were happily married and widowed and done it. Don't need again. I've closed up shop down there. You know, I'll do volunteer work. I'll travel. I'll be with my grandchildren, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Individual choice.
My approach is to keep yourself healthy and primed, which means, you know, if you're a man, it means masturbating. If a woman, it means masturbating. It means keeping yourself flowing and going and keep exercising all of your body. And you know, one of the things that I was gratified to find out from a lot of the really older people that have been married 50, 60 years, it's better than ever.
Really?
Yeah.
But doesn't that evolve and change? What you're into at age 20 is going to be, I mean, you tell me, but even
everything
for me,
evolves and changes.
Right.
I interviewed a woman who's 95, and her husband's probably 98, but he swims every morning naked in their pool. And she said, when he comes walking back into the living room naked, it turns me on. She said, I never expected this at 95. And I said, so what do you do? And she said, no, it's not, we don't do what we used to do, but it's about skin. It's about touching, it's about sensuality, it's about, you know, I mean, one of my friends said, Jane, you who have never known this, you have no idea what it's like. You've had a fight with your husband, and you're lying in bed, and eventually you begin to get turned on again, and you make up, and you find yourself again sexually. This is someone you've been with for 50 years. It's like this incredible experience that you never know unless you've been with them for that long. And I've talked to enough women in that situation to know it's not unique and that it's fabulously sexy.
Wow.
And I'll never know it.
Do you feel sad that you'll never know that?
Oh, you know, yeah, but I don't dwell there. I mean, life's too short.
I do know what it was like to have an orgasm as a man and what it's like to have an orgasm as a woman.
All the emotions that made me feel loved or beautiful or creative, all those emotions, I created myself.
Nobody can take your thoughts away from you. Nobody can take your education away from you. Nobody can take your feelings away from you. You have you up here and in here, and if you have that, then you can be free.
I know I have the right to be myself. You know, no matter what anybody said, I guarded that inside of me, and I said, I don't care. You can just like put me down as much as you want. Anybody. One day, I will be able to be me because I have the right to be me. I have the right to be a woman.
You classify yourself as transgender?
I identify myself as a transgendered woman because it's the path in life that I have. And I mean, transgender is usually for people who are born in the wrong body, so to speak. They were born in the opposite sex that they actually feel they belong to. In my case, I was born in a male body. But I clearly identified ever since I was really little as a woman.
Will you tell me a little bit about what it was like for you being a little boy, but knowing that you identified more with being a little girl?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a choice that I just like decided, ooh, you know, I'm a boy and now I'm a girl. It was just, I've always just identified like a girl. It was just something that just came natural to me.
So your parents were very supportive in the sense that they allowed you to dress freely and dress like a little girl?
Yes, I think they're just like, they figured it's just something I'm going through, and they're just like, my mother said, you know, just let him express himself, and you know, it might just be a phase. And I think when I started school, this is when it just became clear it wasn't a phase. And what was very interesting, I never had a sense of wrongdoing until then. I was just being me. When school started, a lot of things in my life changed. It was a very difficult time for me. I had a teacher who, you know, she looked at me and she figured there's something wrong there, and I will make sure that I will let this little boy know that there is something wrong with him. She really just took it upon her to just like tell me, tell my mother, but also tell, you know, my friends and their parents. I know from the age of 6 to the age of 16, it was pretty tough for me.
And then what happened at 16?
I experienced the power of the female group. It was an amazing experience to me. I got invited by a friend to her birthday, and it was an all-girls birthday.
And were you still living as a boy at that point?
I was very gender neutral, I would say. But I came to that birthday party, and there were 9 women sitting there, and everybody was looking at me, and we were drinking tea, and then at one time, one girl broke the silence. She said, "Okay, let's just talk about this. What is going on with you?" And I was going like, and I don't know, I just opened up and I said, I am not a boy, or at this time, you know, a man. I'm a girl, you know, I'm a woman. And they were like, okay, let's work on it. And
Oh my gosh.
it was an amazing experience.
That is incredible.
I know. And they really helped me, and we built a sisterhood, you know, together, that we were there for each other, and we had an amazing support system. And that feeling of just like being accepted by these girls was just something where I really blossomed, and I was very fortunate. I just became me again.
Okay, so you're 16 and you chance upon these amazing women who help you to give you the freedom again to connect to who you truly are, and you start living authentically.
Yes.
And walk me through like the next 5 years. What did that look like for you?
I talked to my mother, who, you know, then said to me, "Well, I always knew, but I was hoping." I think she just wanted her child to have it easier. That's how she looked at it. She said, you know, it's not that, you know, I love you and I will always love you, but I was just hoping you would have it easier. And I said, "Mom, I don't want to have it easy. I just want to be me, you know?" And it wasn't a choice to be transgendered, but I made a choice not to live a miserable life.
Have you chosen to do any like corrective surgery?
I had my gender reassignment surgery when I was 19.
How was that for you, the first time that you saw that you didn't have male genitalia anymore and that you had female genitalia visually? Like you know, how was that for you? Was it like the best Christmas?
No, it was not even, I was just like fixed. Done.
Right, done.
You know, okay, finally, this is the way it's supposed to be, you know? From then, you know, it was like the beginning of a whole new life.
And tell me how it is, like when you meet men and you date somebody or you have a relationship.
Yeah, I had both experiences. I had experiences where men were just like, "I don't care, you're hot."
Right, yeah.
And I had other ones who go like, "Oh."
Can you talk a little bit about the experience of having sex the first time when you were officially a woman?
Well, I think as every woman, the first time is never great. It's just always something where you build it up in your head. And I had to wait a little bit longer than some people wait as long as I do. But I think sex is now, for me, it's definitely much better since I got to, you know, experience more, and I get to live in my body better.
Do you have physical sensation in the same way that I would?
Yes, it was actually a very interesting question. When I had my operation, the surgeon asked me, "Would you like to have a clitoris and have orgasms?" And I'm like, "What question is this?"
Yeah.
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 He just said, "Some people don't want it." I said,
"Really?"
Well, I know some women just don't. And I said, "Well, I'm not one of them. I'm planning on having a really happy life." And, you know, orgasms are hopefully a part of it with people I love. And I think having an orgasm as a woman was also something I needed to learn and experience, you know?
I think all of us do.
Exactly. I mean, I guess if you want to talk about two sides, that's the one side I didn't know. I mean, I was never really fond of my, like, you know, male, you know, physicality, but I do know what it was like to have an orgasm as a man and what it's like to have an orgasm as a woman.
Wow.
And it is a very different experience. And it actually made me understand men a little bit better because for men, it's a very outside experience. It is really like, and it's also something that's much easier. And as a woman, the mental part of having an orgasm as a woman is
Huge.
It's huge. It's really huge.
Large, very large part
I
of
know,
it.
absolutely. That's something I got to experience with both sides.
What do you think we can do culturally to help people's perception of transgender?
Well, I just think that we need to be very understanding, and I think that that for transgender people to come forward and talk about it is a big deal. We need to just like educate people, show them that it's not something to be afraid of, and that it's not something that's freaky or scary, and we need to be understanding that it's a very difficult path, and that you need to be very strong. I mean, I'm a very strong person,
And that it's not a choice.
And it's not a choice. It's not like you just go like, oh, I want to just like flip genders. I mean, there is.
Yeah, that's complicated, and I think that, I'm looking at what can we do, in our society, like what can we do to make that path a little smoother.
I believe in authenticity. I believe that we all need to just like get together and embrace each other's differences, and it doesn't matter, what religion you are, or what skin color you are, or what your physical appearance is, what your sexual orientation is. We just need to just like embrace each other's difference and just go like, you're different, let me check this out.
Me too.
And yeah, and just go like, wow, and just like look at the colorful life that we have because of this.
What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
This is the hardest thing for me to do. This is even harder than exercising.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of advice I have ever been given is don't take anyone else's advice.
What is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
Katharine Hepburn. Confront your fear. Confront your fears. Jane, you've taught me to respect you. Is when I learned how to do the backflip.
Life isn't fair, but it's still good.
Live in the moment.
Let it happen.
Don't be so quick to judge.
This is the hardest thing for me to do. Meditation.
You confronted your fears. You have to do that or you'll get soggy.
Do you have any vices?
Food.
Ice cream.
Sometimes we eat things, are just not healthy for us.
A good hamburger? I'd die for a good hamburger.
Licorice, French fries, ice cream.
Do we have enough tape for this?
Dark chocolate and coffee.
Coffee.
I love macchiatos.
Drinking vodka.
Drinking wine with my girlfriend.
People talk about, you drink too much, you eat too much. Yeah, what about you think too much?
What is your greatest fear?
Rats.
Lizards. Being locked in the trunk of a car.
I'm afraid of my voice, which is very interesting.
Doing this scares me.
Like, I always sing if I'm like,
yeah. I'm actually really scared of failure.
I definitely don't want to fail.
I'm not living up to the expectations that I set for myself.
I'm afraid of being alone.
Everything scares me.
What is your favorite sex position?
No, because my mother might see this.
All of them.
That is saucy.
It's changed since my knee operation. It used to be...
Usually on top.
I guess me on top.
used to be on top.
Doggy style.
Wow.
Which is a big favorite for everyone. I've taken this poll before.
Downward dog, and it's not anal.
I don't answer.
There's not a connection. It really doesn't matter, unfortunately. It's more about the person than the position.
The one where I actually like the partner I'm having sex with.
Actually, I haven't experienced all of them yet. But, life's an adventure.
What would you tell your 14-year-old self?
Don't give up. And keep believing in yourself. Because you are right. And you have the right to be who you are. And more or less the same thing I did tell myself, but more strongly. Because looking at it back again, I knew I was right, and all the people who were trying to make me wrong were wrong.
To relax and that everything's going to be okay, and try really hard not to worry about what other people think of you, because you're going to find fantastic friends along the way who love you for who you are.
You can say no. And if someone doesn't like you for it, they wouldn't have been your friend anyway.
That's a good one.
You don't have to be perfect would be the other one. Maybe that would be the first thing I'd say.
Write everything down. You think you remember it, and you think it'll always be like this, or even if you don't, it'll go away much quicker than you think. And so write everything down.
Hang in there because it's gonna be great in the end.
You need to look in the mirror and just tell yourself there is nothing wrong with me. And you need to just just guard this. I mean, and this is what I did. I put it in a little treasure box, so to speak, my femininity, and I said, I will guard you with my life, and one day I will open it up, and I will be who I am. I think that I would just share that with everybody. If you don't have the support system, can't find a safe place, at least tell yourself there is nothing wrong with you, and you have the right to be who you are.
Where I'm at right now with my independence is, like we talked about, doing things outside my comfort zone, but also doing things without a result in mind and not being result-oriented, because I've been result-oriented all my life. Why does it take an outside force, a job, a man, something outside of me to keep me in my optimal shape, physically and mentally?
I have a problem with changing who I am. I'm still gonna be the same person with the same beliefs, with the same foundation that I've always been. I'm always the kind of person that will reach my hand out. And so when my friends aren't happy about my happiness, I let them get through it on their own, but I still stand with them, and I still call them my friends.
My biggest gift, the thing that I will leave behind that matters the most, is my life and how I have been able to, with a lot of work and help, understand it and then talk about it and share it. That's my gift, more than any part I will ever play, more than any exercise video I will ever do. It's my ability to talk about my life in a way that can help other people. So, I mean, you can't do that unless you're honest. And I couldn't be honest until I began to know who I was.
Booby? Hi, lover.
You have some great tools.
Yeah, but I do have to let it out.
How did you learn all this?
Magic.
I had the hair before I did the movie.
There it is.
My
across your
mugshot.
boobies.
My klooch, yeah.
Demi, send a tweet out for them to sort the LAPD, please.
This is a one-stop shop. You get an interview and a new headshot.
That's it, everybody.